So episode 2, we're back again with the lovely Jade. Thank you again for joining us and continuing our conversation. Really pleased again to have you on the pod, and super conversation. Obviously we had in episode 1 and an array of different topics we touched on. And I wanted to probably bring a bit more of a focus to a lot of the entrepreneurial side of things. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're a businesswoman, a mom, charity work, lots you're doing in the community. So definitely want to shed a light on that, and maybe we start this episode off with the actual practice and kind of the services you are providing in a bit more detail, and I guess what's next, in terms of going into 2022, what your focus is going to be on, and let the people know.
Thank you, Shane. Well, it's a pleasure being back again. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I thought I was banned after last time. So my private practice is based around talking therapies. So it's all to do with mental health, well-being. As you're aware, I'm a cognitive behavioural therapist. I'm also a couple and relationship counsellor. And I work with children and young people all the way up to adults and couples. So my practice aim is to try and make it in the word itself, so my business name, which is Chatter in-house. So I didn't want to do something that's, I'm going to use the word old school, because when you think of counselling, when you think of therapy, you probably think of, very dark brown wooden furniture room with a certain individuals maybe in that room.
The clipboard.
The clipboard.
On the sofa,
exactly. So I think a lot of people can still have that stereotypical view, as my aim is to make it a bit more modernised.
Sure.
So not obviously forgetting what therapy is about, but sort of making it adapt to the way we are now in this, younger generation. So Chatter, I thought it would be nice because obviously it's just talking. It's a talking therapy. We are sat here chattering. In-house, the whole aim, and I'm going to obviously let you know how this, fits in, but is to do everything in-house. So, for example, right now I'm focused on the talking therapy, but moving forward, as you're aware, it's a private practice, so people pay, obviously, the business to be seen, by a therapist. I want to expand that so it's not creating barriers for people who can't access private therapy, for people who have sat on a wait list who really need help and access to therapy but can't maybe afford to go and see a private therapist. So my aim moving forward is to incorporate charity alongside the business to give out free access to the service, which will hopefully get funding for moving forward. So people, that's what I want to do. I don't want to create barriers. I think it's about bringing down them barriers, which we spoke about last time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great point, because I think often, and one of the points, we made in the first episode, was how, people can access the help they need. And it does seem a bit, I guess, maybe counterproductive that the help you need is almost impossible to get for a lot of people. So I think it's great what you're doing, combining, the charity, to making sure that people do have I guess, as easy as a entry point to how they're actually looking after their mental, their well-being, and from it being affordable to just plain and simple having it accessible. Just being able to actually get the help you want and the help that you need. That's super important. So and I wanted to bring some light to that, because I had my struggles, as I mentioned in the first episode, in regards to how I went about trying to find a therapist, and it's costly, number one, and it is an investment in yourself, but at the same time, not everyone is in a position to, make that investment.
Definitely.
And because you can't make that investment, it shouldn't hinder the help or the way that you probably need to look after your mental health. So super important, and I'm really pleased you're doing that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I think, I'm passionate about equality. I'm passionate about, breaking down them barriers. And I feel like I'm in a really good position where, I've got options to do that and choices to do that. And, although obviously a business is a business for a reason, at the same time, you can use that business to reach out and help other people who, who might not be in the forefront of making your business successful to a degree. So, in a sense, I'm passionate about building this charity and, just reaching out to as many people as possible who feel that they can't, like I said, access private therapy. I've not got the resources to do so.
No, super dope. Really, really, really pleased with that. And, obviously we'll push, that notion, that narrative as much as we can, on and off the pod. There'll be loads of, links and ways in which the audience and anyone listening, anyone watching can get in contact, with Chattering House and, the great work you're doing at your practice, and also, like you said, with the youth and the charity as well. So we'll definitely make sure that that's something that's front and center out there to a lot of people. It does bring, I guess, me on to the next point, which was, I think we touched on it briefly, and something that I think is a bit of a buzzword, or something that's quite sexy at the moment, which is the entrepreneurial side. And starting your own business and really understanding what ownership means. I think in our community is something that's not been talked about enough to where people understand how to actually go about owning their own business, really what it takes, what it entails to run your own business. And who better than yourself to kind of give some practical advice to people out there who are thinking about it, but also how you're currently maneuvering in that field and being an entrepreneur and building a business. How does that look like for you?
Okay, so there's a lot of questions in there. So for me, I would say it's obviously hard work, but anything that you want, it tends to not come easily unless you're just lucky.
Absolutely.
It's research. I would say, actually, I'm going to use the word test and trial, because I was never shown how to create a business to that degree. I was never shown, this is how you go about it. This is who you need to go and speak to. It was all about getting on Google, researching videos
Google
on YouTube.
University.
Asking questions as well, like people that I was grateful to come across, asking questions, and basically, just research, test and trial. That's how I learn, should I say. And the more you sort of like research and the more you find information out, it'll take you to this place or this person, increase your knowledge about what you want to do and the area. And also just make sure it's for you. I always think when you open a business, I understand the money making side of it, but at the same time, you've got to enjoy it. You've got to have some kind of passion, because it makes it a lot more easier, that research, that journey.
I can imagine. Especially if the money's not coming in. Especially if you open a business and, for whatever reason, you're like, right, I'm going to get rich, I'm going to be a millionaire, blah, blah, blah. But, you have 6, 7, maybe 12 plus months where you're not making an absolute dime. Then, why are you doing this? Why are you waking up every single day, to continue? And you're right, it's that passion, it's that love for, probably what you are actually trying to build. That probably gets you over that hill.
Definitely. And you've got to enjoy it. You've got to basically wake up and be like, okay, this is where I want to be, this is what I want to do. And you might have a goal, but them goals can change as well. But you've got to wake up and be like, this is where I see myself, this is where I want to be, and this is what I want to do. And just understand the reason why. Keep things very simple at the start. Don't overcomplicate things, because you will get thrown a lot of information and a lot of knowledge. But I always think simplicity is the best thing. And then as long as you've got that strong foundation, keep it simple, you can build on that eventually, you can change things.
Absolutely. I think that the complexity that people add to whatever business plan, whatever idea you have, is often maybe what hinders them from even getting started. They're probably thinking they need to start off at, it's just super, experience level. And it's absolutely not. And, again, you're a testament to that, because we touched on it briefly in episode 1 with the skincare line. And I wanted to kind of expand on that a bit more, because it's obviously an area, again, where in our community, I feel like we do have some representation, but oftentimes it seems like there are other communities that really come in and, we become the consumers rather than the owners.
Definitely.
So can you talk on how and what you're doing in the skincare, I guess, line range and, how that's coming along?
Of course. So at the moment, we're creating a skincare line with natural products, which, I think everyone's going to eye roll at this point, like natural product, organic, it's
blah, blah,
yeah.
blah, vegan friendly. Yeah.
Don't skip past this part, people. It's actually really interesting. So basically, when I used to buy products and, you can walk in my bathroom and it's like galore of products. When I'm reading something, it just sounds so overcomplicated. And like I said, going back to before, is I like something simple, something that anyone can read and be like, I get that. Not where it has to be a certain person read it to understand. And I'm not a scientist. So when I'm reading these bottles, I'm like, what's that? And I shouldn't need to research it in the shop. So my whole plan and my partners, because we're actually doing it as joint, is to create a skincare line with natural products, but making sure it's clearly outlined what's in it. So, for example, if you just want to use coconut oil, then why has it got coconut oil times 10 other products on it? That I've never heard of in my life. And also for our skin, and I just think to look at a black female like myself, a black male like my partner, and think, it's also relating once again. I'm interested in skincare, or I'm interested in making a lip balm, and just sort of giving someone who looks like me sort of that vision, that inspiration to be like, well, how did they do it? And when they speak about it, they make it so simple, and that's the type of awareness I want to push out there, is to make things very simple, but also, people can do it, exactly what I'm doing. And also the skincare itself, just make it natural and make it my skin needs certain products in it, If I come out of the shower, my skin's going to be ashy if I don't moisturise it enough. I can't put a 90p sometimes cream on it because my skin's going to go turn a white and then it'll just come off. So it has to be certain products to be putting on my skin. Yeah. That's why the skincare line comes.
Nah, and I think that's super dope. The fact that, you're doing it again, as a partnership, shouts out to Dwight. I think is really, really cool because, again, and I spoke about this actually on another episode that we've wrapped up recently, which is, why is it, number one, so complicated a lot of the time with a lot of these products that we're using, and like you said, our skin, as amazing as it is, we have to treat it that way, and there's certain products that we need to use, but also the way in which you're going about it, it is very simple, it is very relatable, and it's basically a blueprint for other people who want to can actually take advice, can actually see the steps that you're taking, and hopefully get more of us in this space, because in any space the more the better. I feel variety is definitely needed, and I just think it shouldn't be a one size fits all, or it definitely shouldn't be just a one or two of us at the very top, and for some reason the gap is so massive that there's no one else there coming along afterwards,
and that leads a huge question as to why is that. Is it that people get, and this could be anybody, but is it that people get to a certain status and then they're like, okay, and I'm going to create space, it's just me now.
This is all for me.
Or is it because they're so focused on getting to that place that they sort of forget about other people and other things, or where they used to be? So there's a lot of questions of why there's such a huge gap.
And selfish plug, but we bring others along on this podcast. You're absolutely right, because I think and I know not to the people who are making the moves, are trailblazing in a lot of ways, for the community, for the culture.
Definitely.
But absolutely, we are much stronger in numbers. We're definitely able to accomplish a lot more together. So as best as we can, the more people that you're bringing along, definitely the better. And it just feels better. When you reach out, when you help, when you are of service to people, and they're genuinely accept that and they learn from it, they value it. It's a good feeling. So hopefully we can see a lot more of that. One of the other things, and actually on the skincare line, because there are some other really boss ladies on the pod that's coming up. I think I might have mentioned this in episode 1, but with in health and beauty and space, I'm really looking forward to having that conversation, because like you pointed out earlier, in regards to our skin and the products that are out there, and whether or not they agree with our skin in a certain way, or they're what we want to use, period. It's going to be a really good conversation to have with her. So stay tuned for that one, guys. That should be good, and I'll definitely try and make that link happen between you two. I guess shifting gears a bit in regards to I think we've obviously touched on charity, but in terms of the work you're doing in the community, I know you said the youngsters and having young people being almost at the forefront of a lot of the work that you're doing. Can you expand on that and just kind of give us some insight into what you are doing with young people, and moving forward, some of the things that I guess we can be doing to help to support as parents, as elders, how we can help the young people.
Yeah, definitely. So I think with this day and age, it's extremely important to check in on the younger generation, check in on each other really, but check in on the younger generation just because of what they're being exposed to. I wouldn't say I'm extremely at the elder side of the categories, but I wouldn't say I'm quite youthful as well. I'd say I'm quite,
happy medium. Happy medium.
There we go. So I think it's real, because I'm exposed to a lot of young people, I think it's really important to check in with them, just because of the whole, uproar of social media and exposure, and a lot of young people that I come across in life in general do have a lot of issues or problems, should I say, around the self-esteem, confidence, the mental health, the well-being, how they look. There's just so much, and I don't ever remember that happening when I was younger. I know it probably was there, and it's good that the awareness has been made. But I just think, young people are struggling probably more than ever, and everything's moving so fast at the moment to keep up. It takes a lot, and that's why I say check in with each other. I think that's the main thing. Signs, looking out for signs as well. Say for example, if your friend all of a sudden changes their behaviour or distance themselves, withdraws, I think going back to just checking in, seeing how they are and being consistent with that check-in. So even if they're not giving anything back, it's just still checking in. I'm still here. That's one of the main things I would say. How I see what I do to help young people is, like I said, I try and make Chattering House as modern more than that stereotype. So I don't want, and when they look at me, I want them to see this as the modern face of therapy. It's not just that image from 1902. It's
it's so important. Yeah,
different faces. Even my therapy room, I try and make it sort of not inclusive, I would say, but quite quirky, quite modern, quite homely.
Post a few pictures for the audience to see. But you're absolutely right.
So there's a lot of things that I take into consideration when I focus on young people. What are they attracted to? How I talk as well. So I try not to use big, huge words that they're going to get lost in or feel, crawl back in themselves.
Absolutely.
Taking consideration of that, and as a parent, talking to a young person, where are they? What are they doing in life? How things are. And I know life bogs us down as adults, but we still have a responsibility to look after our children, to look after the younger generation, because that's going to be, they're going to be where we are when we're not here no more.
Absolutely.
And we need to leave legacies in this place.
No, I couldn't have said it any better. And I think, the point that you made in terms of making it a bit more modern, I think, people, whether we want to believe it or not, they gravitate to, what they know, what's familiar. And a young person today is definitely not looking at, therapy as probably being cool. I guess mental health and the conversation around it and well-being is definitely changing. But the environment that you are able to provide to them really makes a difference. Certainly, even for me, it made a difference, having a way in which my therapist speaks, you know, in the way in which we communicate with each other, the familiarity with what we watch and the books, and you know, just being able to tap into things that are just synonymous with my life, my everyday life. You know, it really makes a difference, and I suppose, you know, that's probably why, and I guess hopefully, you know, a lot more young people, you know, would be able to reach out and really kind of have those conversations with you, because it is a safe space you're providing, and it makes a huge difference.
Definitely. And I think even the safe space, like when we talk about spaces, it's also being able to listen to other young people, you know. So it's not just about an adult to child, it's also about a young person, it's about child to child, young person to young person. So when we talk about like the charity and the business, it's also about incorporating workshops for self-esteem, confidence building, mental health, well-being, even basic things like I was having a conversation a couple of weeks ago about hygiene, and I know it sounds insane, you know, when people be like, well, how do kids not know how to wash? Or, but if you're not taught, and sometimes as an adult mentality, you sort of like think they're at this age, they should know, but that's not always the case. And then hygiene can implement people's mental health, building rapports with other peers, and so forth. So there's so much I could talk all day, Shane, but I'm going to stop before I get carried away.
And you know, these are important conversations and definitely messages that need to be put out there. And I think even more so for young people to, number one, just not make them feel like there is a stigma attached to, you know, to maybe how they're feeling, to how they want to be, you know, sharing information and stuff like that. But like you said, stuff like hygiene, I think we take it for granted that, you know, this is stuff that everyone should know. And as normal as it may seem for some people, they may need telling, or they may need to have a conversation around it. And that's with anything. So, you know, I think from numerous different conversations that we've had, and certainly the people off the back end of this, you know, that are getting in contact and wanting to know more about, you know, your practice, wanting to know more about, you know, the work you're going on. Hopefully in the skincare line is coming along. I'm sure we'll definitely be keeping a close eye on that. But yeah, definitely share with the guys, you know, links to socials, how they can get in contact, and how you can be of service to them.
Definitely. So obviously Chattering House is the name.
And we'll plug it in the socials.
And obviously on Shane's pages, please go watch, follow. Obviously I'll send you've got all most of the details, but I'll send you more. So you'll obviously find a link on Shane's page to mine and so forth. But so
that's it. Jay, I think, you know, like you said, we can probably go on for days and days, and I'm sure we'll probably have you back on at some stage as, you know, you progress in your journey, and you know, all of the business endeavours that you're working on, and you know, just the work you're doing in the community period. You know, it would be great to hear how, you know, people are, you know, really maturing, and I guess that well-being side of things, the mental health side of things, they're really able to, you know, see and receive the help, you know, work with the charity. So there's a lot going on that will definitely be tapping into with you from time to time, and hopefully we'll get you back on the pod. I'm sure everyone listening is super intrigued and wants to know more about from the practice of the skincare line, etc. So
definitely
we'll make sure we get that out. But yeah, any last words? Any I guess.
What I'd probably say to anybody that's listening is keep trying. Okay.
Good
keep
advice.
trying. Try not to give up. Keep things simple and try and build a strong foundation. But you learn from everyone. So try not to sort of like write anybody off, regardless of the age or how they look. Try and learn something at least from everyone. And hopefully one day you can bring somebody along. You might be on here talking to
Powerful
Mr. Shane.
Message. Absolutely. And you know, we want the voices out there to be heard. You know, people who are putting in the work, people who are pushing the culture forward. And I say it all the time on the pod, you know, it's conversations for the culture.
Definitely.
You know, we definitely need to be having these conversations in whatever capacity, with whomever. You know, it really doesn't matter as long as it's a value add, you know, to the community. Why not? it's something that we should be pushing out there. So
I agree. Just to normalise it as well. You know, it shouldn't be something that, you know, everyone has to sit down and be like, it should be something that's sort of like talked about on a daily basis, something that's normalised, something that comes like second nature to us, basically, you know, rather than, you know, it's be as a surprise or something there we're trying to figure out, you know, just having this conversation with you, hopefully that spreads awareness.
Absolutely.
And then obviously whoever's listening to it can then add somebody else to the podcast or your page, and then it just sort of like flows. And then it hopefully will be normal, just have these conversations and see people that are younger generation developing in certain roles and areas moving forward.
No, I'll post it in a group chat and see how my boys get on that. It might be a dangerous decision, but we'll see. But no, I think you're absolutely right. You know, we'll do as much as we can to spread the word, like you said, normalise it. You know, there is a lot of talk and a lot of support and a lot of resources out there for people. And we'll do our best to, you know, incorporate that into the pod as often as possible, so people can reach out to the people and the resources that they need to get help and to heal. You know, if we heal together, I think we grow together. So yeah, absolutely. So before we wrap up, and this is, you know, a segment that I literally just thought about just now, to be fair.
Just throwing it in there.
Yeah, just throwing a curveball in there. No, but you actually touched on it earlier, which is, you know, in sticking with the theme of the pod and, you know, the whole concept of, you know, bring others along. From your perspective and people who, whether you've networked with or people you've spoken to or just who you believe, you know, have value add to offer, you know, to the community, to the culture, who would you like to see on the pod? Who would you bring along to sit there and spread some wisdom and some gems?
Ooh, and do we only get to choose one person, Shane?
We can get a list going. I think, you know, as many people, certainly as possible, you know, I'll definitely be reaching out to. Absolutely. But yeah, just anyone, any amount of people that you know would be absolutely, obviously, you know, chuffed to do the pod, but also, you know, like I said, have a message and have a voice that I think people should be hearing in the story as well.
Yeah, so obviously I'm going to shout out to my sister, Zoe, first of all.
Shouts out to Zoe.
Who owns her own beauty salon, and I think she'll be amazing on here, and just to see how she did it, because her journey will be different to my journey. Obviously Mark. My brother-in-law, who obviously, you know, once again, he does houses, properties, another journey. And the last one that I would say is a charitable organisation, and I don't know if I can say the name.
Absolutely, put them out there.
Because obviously I think it would be amazing to get in contact with them and vice versa. But it just depends. Yeah, so they're a Black charity based in Manchester, African and Caribbean charity, and they've been going for over 30 years. So they're one of the longest standing charities in Manchester. So brilliant. Hopefully somebody in there, I don't want to throw any names, I'm trying to be really careful. Hopefully one of them will touch base, and
we'll knock a few doors, and, you know, we'll basically just pester them until someone agrees to do it.
But yeah, so them are free up there. I feel bad that I haven't listed more, but Shane's given me a limit.
No, I didn't. No, that's
Shane just threw me under the bus there.
There'll be people listening to me like, I can't believe she didn't say my name.
I know. I could go on. You know, I love you all.
No, I'm joking. No, but, you know, yeah, obviously Mark I've met, and, you know, what he's doing in you know, in property and just how he's kind of grown in his journey, you know, that's also another talking point, you know, amongst a lot of people, you know, in terms of how do I get into property, how do I become a developer, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, when he does have a spare 2 minutes, because it seems like he's, you know, just constantly obviously working, so we'll definitely try and do that. And I think you're right, the charity, we spoke about that offline, and, you know, 30 years is a very long time to be supporting and really looking out for the community. So anyone if you are listening, we will definitely be in contact, and we definitely want to have, people from those organizations, who can, first of all, shed light on what they're doing. I think it's super important. But instill a bit of wisdom, share some gems, and I'm sure they've got a hell of a story, to share as well in the journey.
Definitely, like the organisation have been through so much, and I just think what they offer as a community is just amazing, and I think they need to be recognised just from what they're doing, and because you see a lot of charities come and go, and they must have been through some tough fights to keep going.
3 decades is that's a long time, so I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about, and obviously, like you said, Zoe, I think the stuff she's doing with her business again.
Amazing.
It must be something in the blood, the entrepreneurial. I'll probably give that to your dad. Well done,
and mama,
and mum for sure. No, but it's super dope. But like I said, really pleased we got a chance to do episode 2 and continue the conversation. I think it was super important. I really wanted to maybe kick things off with yourself, but more importantly with all the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And the amazing practice that you run, and things that are just, I can just see continuously to develop, to grow for you, and Dwight. So blessings to you both, and hopefully we can tap in at some stage. And
definitely. Hopefully when everything's set up, we can maybe do a part 3 and get Dwight on here. And
that's a couples edition. Come on.
Because Dwight's a huge inspiration in my life, and he's sort of like that's the strength sometimes. When you're feeling tired, and
we all need that person.
You need that person. So that's another topic in itself.
He's definitely in the mix, and again, another business owner, another entrepreneur. So, and this is what the podcast is all about. There's so many different facets of people in our community, and these are all topics that we need to be talking about, we need to be discussing. So super excited. Definitely taking a note of all of the names. So
we'll definitely
we'll be reaching out. But as we draw to a close, I want to thank everyone for who've been sending well wishes, who've obviously been staying patient in terms of getting the content and then the episodes out. So thank you all, and I appreciate the support from everyone as well. And hopefully this resonates. If it's 1-2 people, then we've done our job, and hopefully those guys can find some solace in the healing and their journey as well.
Definitely.
Hopefully they do it with Chattering House, but wherever you choose to do it, absolutely start that journey. Definitely. And we draw to a close. So all of the details will be in the socials, how you can get in contact with Jade, how we can absolutely I guess from her services to the charity work to the skincare line and how that's developing. All the information will be out there, and just follow the page at Bring Others Along Podcast on IG. We'll be across Spotify and all the usual places where you listen to podcasts. Some clips on YouTube and the series as well will be released on there. So we're all over the place. So hopefully people out there can find us, they can listen to us, and support the movement. And as always, when you are doing that, bring others along.